Good Friday evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rusty78609, and it is Beer 30. This is what you call a beer. Isn't that a pretty deal they've done on the Miller Lite cans? These are the 16 ounces, and they've got some little faces over there. One of them, I don't even know the names. But anyway, here's to you, here's to me. Skol, brothers. Cheers, Prost, Skol. Mm-hmm. Muy bueno. This one's only about half full, just starting. But it was a leftover beer from yesterday. That's why I get the ones with the caps. But anyway, Beer 30, Sanity session, Friday night. Chill out, relax, take a deep breath, and say, it's my time. This is my time. You know what I mean? I am the boss now. So, with that in mind, we will work hard to help you regain your sanity. You know how to find your sanity? First, you got to find out where it ain't. Okay? Calculatus, eliminatus, the cat in the hat. Dr. Seuss on the loose. But anyway, Ralph W. Left, gave me a couple of ideas. We'll see how they go here. It says, weird experiences, I'm summarizing, while camping, traveling. Weird experiences. Well, me being on the road is a pretty weird experience in and of itself. But yes, I've had a few, and I've probably mentioned them in other videos, but I'll mention them again. We'll start off with one. I was boondocking. I think both of these were boondocking, or these two were boondocking in the Toyota Prius, which I did for several years off and on. I'd go out for 2 or 3 months at a time and just live in my Toyota Prius, and it was what it was. It wasn't easy, but be that as it may, I did it. And but one time, I was on my way, just traveling in. I was near the Four Corners area, and I thought, well, hell, I'm going to go over to the Arches National Park. I think it's a national park. But on the way there was a Bureau of Land Management campground, or a free campground that you kind of went down a dirt road, not too far, wasn't too bad. And I thought, well, this is okay. And so I drove by, went down a hill, and there was a campsite off to the left, but there were about 6 people already there in vans and stuff. So I turned around and came back, and there was a little road that went off to the right. I went down it, turned to the right again, and I go out on this little plateau. There wasn't a soul there, and it overlooked the campground below, which I thought was, boy, how lucky can a guy get? Yeah, I hear you. But anyway, I set up my Prius, had a few beers, went to bed, woke up well, before I went to sleep, I walked around the campground, looking at the view, beautiful view and stuff. And I noticed that not only was there the entrance that I came in, but kind of covered with brush so you couldn't hardly see it, was another entrance a little further down. And thank goodness I discovered that brushy extra entrance or exit, because I went to sleep that night, slept good, always slept good in the Prius, and woke up the next morning, and a guy, or I don't know who it was, in a van, a black van, dark windows, the dreaded dark window thing, but that's all right, had pulled in the entrance to the camping area where I was and camped right there. There was no way to get out. You couldn't go around him on either side. He completely blocked that entrance exit, thinking, I'm sure, that there was no other entrance exit. And old dummy me, he didn't want to bother because he thought, maybe I was armed or whatever, or maybe he knew who I was. I don't know. It could have been something really simple and explainable. But to me, it was just weird, okay? And of course, I had the mind changer and all that stuff. And so rather than walk over, and I felt like if I walked over and knocked on the door and asked him to move, that I was walking into a trap. For some reason, I just got that feeling. Why? Because a little paranoid will keep you alive. A lot paranoid, they'll put you away. Well, I was a little paranoid. So I remembered that there was that other exit. So I go back, get in the car, and exit the campground. That was the whole weird experience right there. You know, it was just strange that somebody brain dead would block the apparently the only entrance and exit, and that's why I was lucky to find that other place. It was a little brushy, but I got out okay, and that was the end of that crap. Then the next thing, still in the Prius, maybe on the same camping trip, I don't think so. I think this was a year or two later, but I did. I crossed the border from New Mexico into Colorado, and I can't remember the name of the town right across Chama or somewhere in there, across the border. There was another town in Colorado, and there was a national forest campground that was free, and it was only a few miles north of this little town. So I go out there, I drive around the campground, make one complete loop, checking out the sites, trying to pick one that's reasonably level and so forth, because it's dispersed camping. You just find a spot. There's no the hookups or anything. There were the old vault toilets and that stuff. So anyway, I make the loop, come back, found a spot. I was about, I don't know, 100 yards from the vault toilets, and I was back off the road probably at least 50 yards, so I'd have a little privacy. But there was no one else in the campground at that time. And this was about 4 p.m., I suppose. So anyway, it was beer 30. So I was sitting out. I had a folding chair, so I set it out on the ground there. And I had a little folding table and sitting there having a beer. And a guy comes by, comes into the campground in an old pickup and drives really slow by my campsite. And he was just looking, and I thought, well, he's just trying to find a campsite like I was. But he goes all the way around the campground, comes back around, and stops by the vault toilets and gets out of his vehicle. I thought, well, he's just going to go use the restroom and hopefully he'll leave. Anyway, I got to have a beer here. The mouth's getting dry. Here's to you. Here's to me. But anyway, I had my mind changer on the little folding table beside me under a wash rag. You couldn't see it, and I just had it there because I wasn't worried so much about humans. I was thinking about bear and all kind of crap. I'm not, I haven't spent a lot of time in bear country, and so I thought, well, I'd just sit out and have a beer or two, and then I was going to, read a book and stuff. But anyway, this guy comes, but I was watching him through my binoculars because I had those on the table, so I was watching him, and it appeared he walked like he was going to go in the vault toilets, but he went right around the side and around the back and continued on around to back to the road behind the vault toilet, and then he turned to the right and came back around off in the brush in the forest, and I was watching him through the binoculars. What he was really doing was making a big circle to come up behind me. It appeared, okay, and sure enough, he did. He came around. It was within probably, again, 50 yards behind me, but I was watching him through the binoculars, and I don't know if he could tell that I was watching him through binoculars or not, but he stood there for a little bit, like kind of like he's making up his mind. I don't know what he was doing. Everything's going through my mind, but anyway, so he started toward me, and then he stopped because I'm still watching him through the binoculars. I've got my hand on the pistol, because if he starts running or charging me, then I've got an easy shot. You know what I mean? And but anyway, he didn't. He came forward about another 20 yards till he could clearly see me. I could clearly see him, and he stood there for probably, I'm telling you, man, it seemed like an hour, but it was probably 5 minutes. But he was just looking, and he'd walk, and then he'd look, and he'd come right. And anyway, it was just really strange, as in weird. Okay, and so finally, apparently made up his mind he was going to come back later or something. He went back all the way. He followed his same track all the way around back to his pickup, got in his pickup, and he left. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? Obviously, this guy has scoped out my campsite. He knows who I am. He knows I'm by myself. So logically, if I were him, what would I do? Well, obviously I'm awake. He couldn't tell if I was armed or not. But, you would rather catch a person off guard, so to speak, because it's much easier that way. Predators, they don't attack you head on. They come at you from behind. Humans do the same thing. So I'm thinking what this guy's going to do is disappear for a little while, wait till it gets dark, and come back. He may have liked my Prius a lot more than I like mine. then I liked it. So, but anyway, that was the second weird thing as far as as camping and strange events and stuff. But there were others. Quickie, I was in Alpine, Texas. This was in a travel trailer. I was at the La Vista RV campground. It's kind of out over the mountain going towards Big Bend on Highway 118 South. Elevation, I don't know, 5,000 feet or so. It's a nice place to be. And anyway, I was on the very end, or the number one site as you come in. It was the first site. Had my bedroom window pointing out towards the wide open mountains and stuff. And anyway, about 2 a.m., I thought there was a car parked shining the lights in the RV, but it wasn't a car light. There was a big light in the sky that looked like just a big, huge ball of light. Okay, and it just lit up the whole outside like the moon. You know what I mean? It was just really bright. I watched it for a few seconds, and then phew, it was gone. And over the mountain disappeared. That got my attention. I thought, well, hell, maybe I'm dreaming or something. So anyway, I sat there wide awake, by that time. And a few minutes, not even a few minutes, a few seconds later, it was back, but it was farther away, and it would hover and then move quickly one direction, another direction, and then it disappeared over the mountains, and that was the end of that. Was it a UFO? I don't know. I mean, I don't really care. It scared the hell out of me. It got my attention. But those are some of the weird things that you run into out camping, or at least I have, and that's over a period of 28 years. You got 2 or 3 events in all those years. I'd say that's fairly minimal. Okay, but anyway, does that help with your sanity? Yes, it does, because you don't want to let other things like that drive you insane. You want them to just make you more alert and more attentive to here's to you, here's to me. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me look here. Yeah, that was Ralph W. And then this comes from uh, Sanborn. Yeah, Sanborn. This is on. He sent me an email. He's got 8 things here. I'll try uh, some of them. He's got. I'll start. Here's one here. He says, "Did you ever?" Oh, just a minute. Says, he says, "At what firm did you work for the biggest asshole boss?" Well, I know that one. Believe it or not, I have a total recall of that one because uh, after I'd gone busted for the 50th time, I moved to Round Rock, Texas, and I had to do something. I had to find something to do. I was trying to find a job. I'd been a CPA, and every place I applied said, "Well, you won't stay. You're overqualified." Blah blah blah. I said, "Hey, folks, I'm getting hungry out here." But anyway, so what I did, I finally took a job as a car salesman. A car salesman. Okay, I mean, here's a guy that had owned a car dealership, and now I'm trying to get a job as a car salesman. But anyway, I got it. And anyway, they sent you to this little place not too far away where they had the training session to tell you how, some ways to sell product and stuff. But anyway, you come back to the dealership, and of course, sales managers in any area can be, I don't know, they can be tough, or maybe they can be good. But this guy I had was a real a hole. You understand? He could have worn he lettered. He got him a jacket. You know what I mean? It says asshole. But anyway, uh, inside the dealership, around the edge of the dealership, were the salesman's little tables. They didn't have booths or anything. It was just a table sitting there, and two salesmen shared one table. You'd be there while the other guy was off, and you rotated around. It's crazy. Anyway, but in the center there was a podium that was like 2 steps up, maybe I'm going to guess say 2 feet off the showroom floor, and it was round. And in the middle of that was the sales manager and maybe somebody else. I just remember him being up there because he would look around, watching all the salesmen, like some kind of Buddha or God or whatever. Anyway, enough said. Uh, well, in a meeting one morning, he said, be sure that whenever you have a customer, that you bring them up on the podium to be introduced to me. And And he said, be sure you do that because that's a must. You have to introduce all your customers to me. And I thought, well, that's really stupid, but I'll do it if I can. So sure enough, within a few days, I had a customer that came in during their lunch break. It was about 12:15, and it was a guy wanting to look at a truck. He told me what he gave me, handed me the written specs of what he wanted, and he said he'd be back the next day during his lunch hour, and I could show him what we had along those lines, or as close as I could get. And I said, fine. So anyway, I shook his hand. He walked out, and no sooner had the door closed than I hear, "Hey you, hey you, hey you," not "Hey my name," just "Hey you." Okay, and so I turn around. Sure enough, he's up there on the big. He's doing like this, the old, like something's wrong with his finger, like he's trying to turn his finger into a worm. Well, anyway, like this. And so I went like this. He said, "Come here, come here, come here," real smart. You know what I mean? And so I did. I went up there, and he said, "Listen to me." Oh boy, we're getting off to a good start here, right? Listen to me. Wow. Listen to me. I told you to bring every customer to me to be introduced to. I said, "Yeah, you said it in the meeting, but this guy was on lunch. He didn't have time. He was in a real hurry, so I just got the information I needed, and he's going to come back tomorrow, and I will certainly introduce him to you." He said, "Well, let me tell you this, buddy." Buddy. Now I'm his buddy. He said, "Buddy, if this happens one more time, you're fired." I said, "I got an idea, jackass. Why don't you just stuff this dealership up your, you know what? I quit." Okay. And I did. I walked out right then, got my old wore out pickup, and I was gone, man. But I did come back a few days later because I had some money coming, understand? And I did. I went right in that dealership, right past that sales manager into the business office, and got my money. And if he'd have said one word, I'd have probably got in trouble. Anyway, enough said about that. So yeah, I've worked with assholes. I'm sure everybody has. And yeah, and then here's one. It says, some of the funniest moments on the road. Well, the funniest moments they weren't funny at the time. Looking back, they're funny. But I'll give you a couple right quick, and then we'll end the video. But yeah, this is all to help. Tell you my stories to help you maintain your sanity. Okay, so I got back from the Peace Corps, bought an old junker RV. I mean, a real wore out dog. Okay, yeah, I think I paid $5,000 for it, and yeah, it had been kept on the coast of Texas. It had wooden walls and shit. Anyway, I was on Interstate 10 going coming to New Mexico between Fort Stockton and El Paso. Probably, yeah. I don't think I'd gotten to Van Horn yet. Well, on Interstate 10, and anyway, this trucker pulls up beside me, and what did he do? Oh, he came up beside me, flashed his lights, and so usually that means there's something wrong. So anyway, I pulled over on the side, and the whole awning on the awning that goes down the side of the RV, the shade thing that you put out. Anyway, the back part had come loose and it was dragging on the pavement. Is that funny? Well, it's damn strange. It's funny looking back. And then it was a two-door, had two entry doors on that travel trailer. And one time I was going over to Taylor, Texas. I'd been in up near Buckhannon, and I was going over to Taylor because I was doing some what do they call it, gas pipeline inspection stuff. And anyway, I went over a railroad track, a little hump to get on the road to go to Taylor, and and as I turned, I could see in the mirror that one of the doors was completely gone. You kidding me? Dang, it wasn't hanging on; it was gone. So I turned around, found a place to turn around, went back, found the door on the side of the road, and just pushed it in there. And that's one of those things that happen. And I'm sure there's a jillion other things I can't think of right now. But yeah, the crazy things, there's crazy stuff that happened. But yeah, another thing I'll add in this video, first of all, I'll have a swallow of beer. But is, yeah, if you think of something that you'd like to ask or have me talk about during Beer 30 Sanity session, be sure you can shoot me an email to rusty78609 at gmail.com, with your idea. It doesn't mean I'm going to use it. It just means I'll give it a shot. And if it's something I think I can work with, then I'll damn sure do it. Yeah, he's got some more here that might work. Yeah. there's some more here I might be able to work on next week. Yeah, thank you very much, Sanborn. He's got 8 there. I think I did 2. Yeah, so it's a crazy world we live in, guys. So do the best you can to maintain your sanity, keep your health. You know what I mean? Here's to you, here's to me. Yeah, it's Friday night. Got a weekend coming up. I know some of you work. Probably most of you are retired. I don't know that. I think that. And yeah, yeah, it's a crazy world we live in. I mean, it's a million things that I've done and been involved in my life, but I just can't remember them. You know what I mean? They just don't pop up. And the older I get, the less they pop up. But yeah, just bear that in mind. Shoot me an email, and then what else? Uh, Thumbs up, guys. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Thumbs up. Carpe diem. Adios. You know the drill. Drink plenty of water. Stretch, walk, stand guard at the door of your mind. Use the Amazon link if you want to fool with it. What else? Yeah, enjoy your weekend, man. And yeah, it's yeah. When I was when I was camping in the Toyota Prius, yeah, there's probably some more stuff I've got there, but we'll see, guys. But can you imagine? I mean, I'm 6 foot at that time, 6'2", and I'm sleeping living in a Toyota Prius for months at a time. I actually did that over a 5-year period. No kidding. Really did. I think I had 2 different Priuses though. But anyway, guys, enjoy your Friday evening. Enjoy your weekend. Calculatus, eliminatus. If you want to find out where something is, first you got to find out where it ain't. Adios, amigos. Enjoy your life. Bye bye.